Imagine this, it's November. The air is crisp, the leaves are falling, and most gardeners think the season is over. Beds are empty, tools are packed away, and the garden seems to be sleeping. But here's the secret. You can still plant. Right now. There are hardy crops that not only survive winter but thrive in it, rewarding you with an early abundant spring harvest. No matter where you live, mild coast, cold mountain, or somewhere in between, these are the quiet warriors of the garden, plants that love the cold, shrug off frost, and awaken strong when spring arrives. So grab your gloves and a warm drink. Let's dig into 10 crops you can sow in November to keep your garden alive even as winter settles in. 1. Carrots. Carrots are one of those classic crops that seem simple. But when you understand how perfectly they fit into a fall and winter garden plan, you'll realize they're pure magic. They're tough, low maintenance, and incredibly rewarding. When most people think the gardening season is over, the smart gardener knows that carrots are just getting started. Cold-hardy varieties like Nantes, Bolero, or Chantenay don't just tolerate cool weather, and they actually prefer it. In fact, if you've ever bitten into a homegrown carrot pulled from cold soil, you'll notice the difference instantly. It's sweeter, crisper, and far more flavorful than any supermarket carrot. That's because the cold triggers a natural defense mechanism in the plant. To protect itself from freezing, the carrot converts starches into sugars. The result? Nature's candy growing right under your feet. When you sow carrots in November, the process is delightfully hands-off. Simply loosen the soil deeply. Carrots need room to stretch those long, elegant roots, and remove any stones or hard clumps that could deform them. Then sprinkle the seeds thinly over the surface and cover them lightly with about a quarter inch of fine soil. Now here's the trick. Instead of watering heavily, just mist the area lightly to settle the soil. You don't want soggy ground going into winter, as that can cause the seeds to rot. Once the surface is damp, apply a good protective layer of straw, shredded leaves, or compost mulch. This acts as insulation, protecting the soil from temperature swings and helping moisture stay consistent through winter. And then, just let nature take over. The seeds will lie dormant through the cold months, quietly tucked away under their blanket of mulch. As soon as the soil starts to warm up in early spring, often before you even think about gardening again, they'll begin to germinate. You'll walk outside one day and see those first tiny green shoots pushing through the mulch like a quiet little miracle. Another bonus of fall-sown carrots, they mature weeks earlier than spring-sown ones. While your neighbors are still waiting for their seeds to sprout, you'll already have sturdy, established carrot, tops ready to grow strong and fast. And remember, carrots are one of the few crops you can leave in the ground all winter in most climates. The soil is the best refrigerator there is. Just cover them with a thick layer of mulch, and when you need a few, pull them fresh. It's a wonderful feeling to walk into your garden in February, brush away the frost, and pull out a bright orange carrot, sweet, crisp, and alive, while everything else around is asleep. So don't think of November as the end of the carrot season. It's actually the beginning of next year's sweetest harvest. 2. Parsnips. If carrots are the sweet stars of the cold garden, parsnips are their earthy old soul cousins. And once you grow them, you'll never look back. Parsnips might not get as much love as carrots, but among experienced gardeners, they're a treasured winter delicacy. Their flavor deepens and transforms after frost. It's as if the cold unlocks their hidden sweetness. The result is a root that's rich, nutty, and slightly caramel-like when roasted. There's an old saying, parsnips are not grown, they're discovered. That's because they quietly develop underground all winter long, waiting for you to uncover them at just the right time. Here's why November is the perfect month to sow parsnips. Their seeds are slow to germinate, sometimes taking up to a month or more, and they prefer cool, moist conditions to wake up. By planting in late fall, you're giving them exactly what they need, a long, natural cold period that softens their seed coat and encourages strong, even germination when spring arrives. Start by choosing a deep, loose bed. Parsnips hate compacted soil. If your soil is heavy clay, consider building a raised bed or mixing in sand and compost to improve drainage. Remember, parsnips grow long, elegant roots that can easily reach 10 to 12 inches, and they'll twist or fork if they hit rocks or hard layers. Sow the seeds about half an inch deep in straight rows. They're tiny and light, so it's easy to oversow. Don't worry if they're close together at first. You can always thin them out later. After sowing, water lightly just to settle the soil, and then add a thin mulch layer to protect the bed from crusting and erosion through winter. Now comes the waiting game. During the cold months, the seeds remain dormant. They're not dead, just sleeping. Beneath the frost and snow, the magic of stratification happens. The alternating freeze and thaw cycles gently break down the outer coating of each seed, preparing them for spring germination. When temperatures rise and daylight increases, they'll sprout strong, resilient seedlings that are far hardier than any you'd start indoors. By mid-spring, your parsnip tops will begin to rise, tall, feathery, and green. They'll grow steadily through summer, and by autumn, you'll have thick, delicious roots ready for harvest. But here's the pro tip. Don't harvest too early. The longer you leave parsnips in the ground, the better they taste, especially after they've been kissed by frost. When temperatures dip, the starch in the root converts into natural sugars, making the flesh sweeter and the texture smoother. In fact, many old-timers won't even dig their parsnips until after several hard freezes. They simply cover the bed with straw or leaves and harvest throughout winter, pulling what they need for each meal. The result? Tender, flavorful roots that no store-bought vegetable can match. If you've ever roasted parsnips with olive oil, salt, and a drizzle of honey, you know how incredible they can be. Their flavor is rich, deep, and almost buttery. The kind of taste that instantly says winter comfort food. So if your garden is winding down this November, give parsnips a try. Plant them once, forget about them. All winter and come spring, you'll find one of the easiest and most rewarding harvests waiting for you underground. It's like planting a secret gift for your future self. A sweet, earthy reward that only patience can deliver. 3. Beets. Beets are one of those crops that quietly prove how generous nature can be, if you just give it a little trust and patience. They're tough, dependable, and full of surprises. If you think beets only belong in summer gardens, think again. These colorful roots are born for the cold. When you sow beets in late fall, around November, you're not trying to rush them into growth. You're giving them time to rest and prepare. The seeds will lie dormant under the soil, safe and still, waiting for the world to warm up again. And when the first mild spring days arrive, they'll wake up all at once, pushing up a blanket of tiny green seedlings long before most gardeners have even started planting. The secret lies in timing. You want to plant them right before your ground freezes solid, late October or early November in most temperate zones. If you sow too early, the seeds might sprout before winter, only to be killed by frost. But if you sow at just the right time, they'll settle in and sleep peacefully until nature says go. Beet seeds are actually little clusters. Each one contains several seeds, so thin them out early once they sprout, leaving about 3 to 4 inches between plants. That spacing gives the roots room to grow big and round without crowding each other out. And don't forget to cover the soil with a nice insulating mulch. Straw, compost, or shredded leaves all work beautifully. This layer helps regulate moisture, keeps the soil from crusting, and protects the seeds from the constant freeze-thaw cycles that can push them out of the ground. When spring arrives, simply pull back the mulch a bit and watch the magic unfold. One of the best parts about overwintered beets? They're stronger, deeper in color, and richer in flavor than spring-sown ones. You'll notice it when you slice into one. The rings are more vivid, the flesh denser, and the taste incredibly sweet. The same cold that slows their growth actually improves their flavor by converting starches into sugars. It's nature's own sweetening process. And don't overlook the greens. Beet tops are one of the earliest and most nutritious greens you can harvest in spring. Tender, vibrant, and loaded with vitamins, they're perfect for salads, sautés, or even tossed into omelets. You can harvest a few leaves from each plant without harming the roots, giving you multiple meals from a single crop. Beets are also incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Roast them, pickle them, shred them into salads, or blend them into smoothies for a burst of color and nutrients. And because they store well, you can keep a winter's worth of food right in your garden or your cellar. If you've ever wanted a vegetable that gives back far more than you put in, beets are it. Sow them once in November, forget about them all winter, and come spring, your patience will be rewarded with a patch of glowing red, golden, and even striped roots. little jewels of the soil that prove the power of planting with the seasons. 4. Turnips. If there's a vegetable that thrives on neglect and laughs at the cold, it's the turnip. Often underestimated, this humble root is one of the easiest and fastest crops to grow, especially when direct sown in late fall. While most plants fade as frost arrives, turnips come alive. They love the chill, growing sweeter and crisper as temperatures drop. Cold weather turns their starches into sugars, giving them that mellow, nutty flavor that makes fall and early spring harvests so rewarding. Sowing turnips in November sets you up for an effortless early crop. Start by loosening your soil well. They like soft, well-drained ground where roots can grow freely. Mix in some compost for nutrients, then scatter seeds thinly across the surface. Cover lightly with about ½ an inch of soil. Water gently, and top with mulch or a frost blanket for winter protection. The seeds will rest quietly through the cold, then burst to life as soon as the soil warms. Turnips grow incredibly fast. You'll see greens in a few weeks and full roots in as little as 6 to about 8 weeks. One of their best features is that they're a 2-in-1 crop, tender greens above and crisp roots below. The young leaves are great in salads or sautés, while the roots can be eaten raw, roasted, or mashed, versatile, flavorful, and nutrient-rich. Turnips also require minimal care. Once seedlings appear, thin them to about 4 inches apart and keep the bed weed-free. They're tough, resilient, and rarely bothered by pests this time of year. In mild climates, you can even succession sow them for multiple harvests. A November planting gives you an early spring crop, and by the time those are ready, your next round can already be sprouting. If you want a low-maintenance vegetable that gives big rewards, turnips are it. Plant them once, let the frost work its magic, and come spring, you'll have sweet, hearty roots and greens ready before most gardeners have even started planting. 5. Rutabaga, Swede. Rutabaga, or Swede as gardeners in the UK and Europe call it, is the ultimate cold weather survivor. This hardy root crop doesn't just endure frost, it thrives in it. If your winters get tough, rutabaga is the crop that won't quit. It looks like an oversized turnip, and they're close relatives, but the flavor tells a different story. Rich, slightly buttery, and sweet, especially after a few frosts. When roasted, mashed, or added to stews, rutabaga becomes pure winter comfort food. Here's its secret. As temperatures drop, rutabagas turn their starches into sugars, acting like natural antifreeze. That's why the colder it gets, the sweeter they taste. How to plant. Pick a sunny, open spot with loose, well-drained soil. Sow seeds about 1 to 2 inch deep, 6 to 8 inches apart. Cover lightly with soil and water gently. Add a thin layer of mulch, straw, compost, or shredded leaves to protect the soil through winter. The seeds will rest quietly until spring, then burst into steady growth as the soil warms. You'll soon see big, round, golden roots with tall, leafy greens. And the longer you leave them after frost, the better they taste. Creamy, sweet, and rich like a buttery potato-turnip hybrid. Rutabagas are nutrient-packed too, full of vitamin C, potassium, and fiber. And once harvested, they store incredibly well. Just brush off the dirt, trim the greens, and keep them in a cool, dark place with a bit of sand or sawdust. They'll last for months, feeding you long after other crops are gone. If you want a low-maintenance, frost-proof, and delicious crop, rutabaga is your golden ticket. Plant in November, forget about it all winter, and come spring, you'll have hearty, sweet roots that make every cold weather meal a little brighter. 6. Onions. When most gardeners think of planting onions, they picture spring. But seasoned growers know a secret. November is actually one of the best times to start your next onion crop. That's right. You can sow onions in late fall and let them quietly establish roots through winter, ready to burst into growth as soon as spring arrives. There are 2 easy ways to do it. Winter hardy onion sets, small bulbs you plant directly in the soil. Seeds, for those who prefer to start from scratch and enjoy a longer growing period. The idea is simple. Plant before the ground freezes, cover the bed well, and let the onions settle in. They'll sleep through the cold months, then wake up strong when temperatures rise. While others are still waiting for spring onions to sprout, yours will already be growing, sturdy, green, and weeks ahead of schedule. By early summer, you'll be harvesting full-sized bulbs while others are still tending seedlings. Onions are tougher than they look. Winter-hardy types like Radar, Sensu Yellow, or Shakespeare can handle frost, snow, even freezing rain. Just give them a thick mulch blanket of straw or compost to keep the soil insulated. Here's the quick method. Choose a sunny, well-drained spot. Onions hate soggy soil. Space sets or seeds about 4 inches apart in rows 12 inches wide. Water gently, then cover with 3 to 4 inches of mulch. In colder climates, add a row cover or cold frame. In milder areas, they can overwinter uncovered just fine. The payoff is huge. Fall-sown onions grow stronger roots and bigger bulbs, maturing earlier and often avoiding common pests like onion maggots. When the snow melts, those bright green shoots pushing through the mulch are one of the first real signs of spring. Proof your garden never truly sleeps. And by midsummer, you'll be pulling plump, fragrant bulbs ready for soups, roasts, or caramelized perfection. So before you hang up your gardening gloves this November, tuck a few onion sets into the earth. Come spring, you'll be glad you did, because even in the quiet of winter, your garden is still hard at work. 7. Swiss chard. Swiss chard is the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it crop, the kind of plant that makes you look like a pro, even if you're just starting out. It's tough, adaptable, and so forgiving that once you plant it, it practically grows itself. When sown in November, chard seeds rest quietly in the cool soil under a light layer of mulch, waiting for spring's warmth. As soon as the days lengthen, they burst to life, sending up glossy green leaves that seem to glow in the morning sun. Here's the magic. Swiss chard doesn't just survive winter, it loves it. Cool weather makes the leaves sweeter, tender, and full of flavor. While other greens struggle or bolt, chard keeps producing strong, vibrant growth. And it's beautiful too. Those colorful stems in shades of red, gold, orange, and white turn any garden bed into a living rainbow. You can even grow it in pots for a splash of edible color. To sow, pick a sunny, well-drained spot. Plant seeds about 1 or 2 inch deep and 3 to 4 inches apart. Cover lightly, water, and add a thin mulch layer. When seedlings appear, thin to 8 inches, and enjoy the thinnings in salads. Swiss chard is a cut-and-come-again crop, meaning you can harvest the outer leaves while the center keeps growing. In mild climates, it can produce for over a year before it goes to seed. Nutritionally, it's a powerhouse, packed with vitamins A, C, and K, plus minerals like magnesium and iron. And in the kitchen, it's endlessly versatile. Use baby leaves raw in salads, sauté mature leaves with garlic and olive oil, or toss colorful stems into soups and stir-fries. Bonus tip: after a light frost, chard actually gets sweeter. The cold triggers natural sugars in the leaves, enhancing flavor. By sowing Swiss chard in November, you're setting yourself up for months of effortless harvest, a crop that grows while you rest through winter. Come spring, you'll step outside to find your garden already alive and thriving. Proof that planning ahead pays off beautifully. 8. Root parsley. Here's a crop that deserves far more attention than it gets. Root parsley. If you've never grown it, imagine the perfect mix between parsley and carrots. Sweet, aromatic, earthy, and full of character. It looks like a pale carrot, smells like parsley, and tastes like both in one delicious bite. Once a staple in traditional European gardens, root parsley has quietly fallen out of favor. Which is a shame because it's one of the easiest and most rewarding cold weather crops you can grow. And November is the best time to plant it. Why? Because the seeds need cold stratification, a natural chilling period that helps them sprout. Sowing in late fall lets winter do the work for you. The seeds rest in the cool soil, slowly waking up as temperatures rise in spring, ready to grow strong and evenly. Here's how to sow it right. Choose a sunny or lightly shaded spot with deep, loose soil, like for carrots. Sow seeds about 1 to 2 inch deep, with 12-inch spacing between rows. Cover lightly with mulch to protect the soil and regulate moisture. Avoid rocky or compacted soil. Smooth soil means smooth roots. Add compost or aged manure before planting for the best texture and flavor. By midsummer, you'll be pulling long, creamy white roots bursting with flavor. The sweetness of carrots blended with the herbal brightness of parsley. They're perfect for roasting, soups, and stews, while the greens are edible too, giving you a bonus harvest. Root parsley is incredibly cold hardy, even under snow. It survives and keeps growing come spring. Many gardeners leave it in the ground and harvest fresh roots all winter. It's also a great keeper. Once harvested, Store it in sand or damp sawdust in a cool cellar, and it'll last for months. Compact vertical growth makes it ideal for small gardens or deep containers. Root parsley may not be famous, but it's a quiet overachiever, resilient, flavorful, and beautifully low maintenance. Plant it this November and you'll see what old world gardeners knew all along. Beneath that cold winter soil, something extraordinary is already growing.